Welcome to this video. In this video, I'll actually demonstrate some Laravel concepts. Laravel it's a PHP framework for web application development. So yeah, I'll just demonstrate, tell about different random Laravel concepts. And this is Said from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So I primarily provide contract and consulting service on Just Etc. Technologies. Actually, checked this list of the questions on Laravel. I just chose interview questions. I think the random stuff will be asked, and yeah, I'll just see what are they asking. What are the topics the interview question is concerned with. Okay, we'll try to show the different random concepts from there. Okay, I can see one of the question is on eloquent. So eloquent, it's about, looks like the person is concerned about how to create those relationships or how to query. It's geared to that area. So what I can do, I think eloquent, it's a object relational mapping. .NET has this, Java platform has this, other PHP frameworks also have similar thing. So eloquent, it's related to Laravel. Okay. So I can show how that is done. Okay, I can show you the topics that is discussed in Laravel.com documentation. So getting started page. So eloquent, as I told, it's object relational mapping, and many times I think the database will be involved. So you have to define some model. If you have the database, then the models actually will represent the tables, and tables in entity relationship diagram, it's a distinct object or distinct concept that you want to deal with. So you will usually define models for each of the table. I think the classes for each of the table. So another thing is you can also use PHP artisan command to create those models. So PHP artisan make model user, it will create a class called user. I think that represents the user model. Okay, usually the corresponding table will be users. And another thing is you actually can use PHP Laravel generators. That is one another tool. I think this simple command, it will create a simple class, simple model, but with that generator you can actually specify or create more detailed class. Sometimes you can create those models when you have the database scheme or database is designed. You can create it more easily. There are options or features for that. Anyway, I want to focus on the model and the eloquent corresponding model and the relationships. So I think we are creating the flight model. It will be used to retrieve information from flights table, and you can use this table property to point. Okay, I think let's say if you use a table that is different than the convention flights, if you want the table name to be my tables, my flights, then it's like this. And this is how you query the model. If you want all of the flight, all information from the flights table, then you can do it like this. And if you want to query to be more customized, then yeah, where active equals to 1 and you want to order by name descending, you can take the first 10 and get it just for the retrieving purpose. So you can define model and you can do query on top of that model. Okay, I can show you the relationships. I think the question here was, I think they are telling two tables like comments and authors and how to define those relationships and how to retrieve values. Okay, I think Laravel documentation also has a relationship section. I think has one, has many, belongs to. Those are some of the stuff that related. I can just show examples from the documentation. That actually will be easier. Yeah, this is the section eloquent relationships. So we know that we have relationships like one to one, one to many, one to many reverse, many to many. I think it is the relationship between the models and it is the relationship between the tables internally. So it's part of defining relationships among the object-oriented design kind of thing. It falls under there. Anyway, so defining relationships. So user have a phone. One user have one phone, one-to-one relationship. So in user model, we are declaring a function phone. That is the name of the another model, and this one has one. You also have to do something on the phone. If you want to retrieve user from phone, I think this will help to find out the phone from user. Okay, it will retrieve phone for a user just to make it simple. And from the phone, because there is only one-to-one, belongs to user. So to get user information from phone, you have to belongs to phone, belongs to user. There is a kind of a relation, I think, a natural thing. User has one, user has one, phone belongs to user. One to many, this will be pretty similar. So one post can have multiple comments. One blog post can have multiple comments. So post model will has many comment, and you also from the post, if you want to retrieve all the comments, then this looks like this. But from a comment, if you want to retrieve the post, then it has to be done on the comment model as well. So comment post belongs to post. You can think about the pluralism or singularism of this method name. Belongs to a post. So for the many to many, actually you will, in a database set you will have a one more table other than the model tables or the concept or object table. So let's say user and roles. So you can have role user. One user can have multiple roles. In one particular role like administrator, multiple user can have that, or user role, multiple user can have user role. So there is a many to many relationship. Now we can see how those are done. In the user model belongs to many. App role. So yeah, user belongs to many roles. It will be the similar from the other, from the role belongs to many user. Okay, I'm not going to the more complicated areas. Eager loading, lazy loading, early loading. Anyway, so how would you add a third-party package like Sentry? Okay, what I will try to show actually for a Laravel project, if you want to include a third-party package Sentry, so that you can use the features of the third-party package, how to include that package as part of the Laravel setup or part of your project. So Laravel gives you the option to easily add and easily remove, easily update. The tool that we use is the Composer. So with Composer, there will be some configuration file, a composer.json, where you can define which packages you need. So you can give those dependency there. So when you install update, yeah, you can using Composer, you can do that, and if you remove it from the dependency configuration JSON, then you will remove when you next time update. So I can show you, I think, the Composer website where they give some introduction to Composer. And Composer, I think you can manage this project, manage this package list per project basis, and you can define a particular folder in that project where those package will be installed. Yes, Composer also gives you some option for the global package management, but we are talking about Laravel and particular projects, so we want to focus on that. Let me see if I have any tab where Composer is open. Okay, I can say this getcomposer.org. documentation. I think we can see the get started. I think you actually install Composer even before you install Laravel. You can first install Composer, and through Composer you can install Laravel. But another way is, I think you can always download the entire Laravel thing, Laravel package framework from Laravel website, and then you can build on top of that without Composer. But if you uh, first download install Composer and then use Composer to download Laravel and project, you will get some flexibility. Now, whatever way you install Laravel for the first time for your project, if you use Composer afterwards, it will help you in cases like when you want to add some other package or remove some existing package that you no longer will be using. So it's not a package manager like YAM or apt. It's a little bit different package manager. So it manages project per project basis and install the packages in a directory, usually the vendor in vendor directory for Laravel. System requirement, you know. Anyway, I can stop on Composer. So you get an understanding what is this. Okay, I'm not going to the details here. How do you do dependency injection in Laravel? Okay, I can come back to dependency injection, inversion of control, IOC container, aspect-oriented programming, and that concept probably near the end. I will take the approach of in the general discussion, and then probably a little bit on the Java side, on the PHP side, on Laravel side. So some stuff to understand, but I'll leave it aside. It can take a long discussion. Okay. Authentication for a set of routes associated with a subdomain. So it's basically about routing filtering, subdomain routing, and another related concept will be middleware. Okay, let's see. I'll come back to this later. I think I can show you how routing is done. Route, get, and then we can give the middleware there, or there are some other filtering and CSRF configuration in the CSRF in kernel.php. You can do something there. Anyway, I will come back to this near the end. CSRF attacks, what's wrong? I think one of the option you can do it in the kernel.php. You can see if it is defined there or if anything is wrong there, or probably in some other configuration file, the security. If it is there, I think I can also come back to this. I think you can at one point bcrypt. I think that most recent version will probably you need encrypt. There are some dependency on that, and PHP has some hash functions. I probably can show those. Bootstrap. If you want to make your forms bootstrap, opinion on it. I think Bootstrap forms, if you want that how to do that. There are some third-party libraries. If you install them as part of Laravel, and then you can create your for using those Bootstrap theme. Another thing that from Laravel for generator, Laravel form generator. Probably you can use them in combination. So how to see all the routes defined in defined. I think the PHP artisan route or those kind of thing, or from the code you can also have route. Probably something is there. You can find it. Artisan will be artisan command is there to get all the routes. Validation error message for a form. I think there is some validation object. You can define some rules for each of the individual fields. And there is one other thing, bail, if you want to fill it fast, and there is the error object that you can use on the view screen. On the view screen, I mean in the MVC view, there you can use that error to show those errors. And in terms of validating, I think in the controller, I think when you're for create, edit, update, delete on those particular method, you can use that validate method, validator object, and then define all those rules there. If something is required, what is the maximum length, minimum length. Yeah, I will show examples. Then when I show the example, you will know exactly what I mean. I'm just giving an overview. Yeah, you have to define the rules in that particular method, and depending on that, the error object will be set, and on the view itself, you can use that error object. Yeah. Okay, I can show this related stuff. White screen of death in the beginning of the Laravel installation. Okay, I think they usually try to say that it's a permission issue. Permission issue for sure will cause this. This configuration issue, depending on the error configuration, it can be a white screen of death, or it can show you the trace of the error or the some error messages. Okay, so these guys are coming from what are to ask to select a person doing Laravel. Okay, let's see. So focus more on hiring a solid PHP developer with good problem solving skills and architecting skills. If they have that, they can pick up Laravel fairly quickly. The opinions can vary, but probably, yeah, sure, it's not impossible. Ask general PHP questions, dependency injections, IOC container, design patterns. Yeah, these are good for larger projects, and when many different people are working, they are doing different things on larger projects. Yeah, there are good things. For the most part, for larger projects, this will be the feature dependent injection IOC container design pattern. Those will help. But if you are making something simple, then you have to reconsider. But first, you have to think about the future growth of your application. Dependency injection, yeah, you are doing the loose coupling and all those things, and your dependency of particular service. You can use a different service or different implementation. It probably is going through the abstract interface, all that route. IOC container, I think it helps in the dependency injection when you have some sort of nested dependency. Using the container, it will help. I think you probably do not have to manually inject the dependency. here and there. Probably those nesting and all those organization you can do it in the IOC container, and then you can go through the IOC container, and then those dependency can be defined inside IOC container. Design pattern, singleton, facade, and I think in the Java there were factory design pattern. Yeah, those can be here around 2022 or some more. Filtering, all those things. Facade design pattern. The Laravel, many people try to say that Laravel facade is not the exact design pattern implementation of the facade design pattern what it is originally. We check through this Taylor Otwell, probably he made the Laravel framework. And solid principle of object-oriented design. Programmer cannot know everything. You don't want programmers that they think they know everything anyway. Okay, let me see. I probably can try to retrieve some of the topics as they are asking, and I probably can show some examples, and then I will wrap up. What is this thing? I think this is the relationship thing that we already saw, composure thing that we already saw. Okay, if you want to get some more information on dependency injection, IOC container, aspect-oriented programming, all those things, you can actually check some of the links here. They will give you concept from the Java point of view, but whatever I check, the examples are simple to understand. Yeah, some of the explanations are good. In general, this concept might be tricky to understand, especially if you are new to this. So again, this is one of the information on the dependency injection. Yeah, it will give you some overall understanding of what dependency injection is. The example they will try to use here, let's say they will be using some sort of uh, notification service. Now in the beginning you might think that your application will also only notify through email, so you can just write the hard-coded code, implemented email service, email service, and you write a tight coupled code. I think you declare inside your main class, you declare a email service related object, and using that email service object, use that method send email. So you think, okay, this is done. But what if you want a different service like messaging, SMS, or through different channel, or the email service implementation, the whatever logic you uh, utilized, you wanted a different kind of email service. So if you write the previous closely tied example, it becomes difficult without changing a lot of the code. But yeah, I think what you could do, you could come through uh, a generic implementation of service, and then different multiple service, email service, SMS service. I think you can define some sort of service interface. From that service interface, you can do email service, SMS service, and some other service. And there will be some other implementation. I think this interface, you can define different service interface. There will be for sure some different service implementation classes. Then in your main application, depending on your need, you will be using uh, some sort of service, and there can have some sort of injector service, injector that will bind which service to implement. those kind of thing. So this is the email service, and your application is using email service. So my class is responsible to initialize the email service. It's a hardcoded dependency. The one step could be we could pass it as part of the constructor. That's a little bit of dependency injection. Just through constructor, we can pass the dependency. Yeah, rather than I think declaring a method here. So we could pass it from the main. That could be a very simple level of implementing dependency injection. Rather than passing the object, we could pass the interface. That is one another level of introducing dependency injection. I think just trying to make the application as loose as possible. I think not tight integrated, depending if the future need change. Yeah. My application is responsible to initialize the email service and then use it. This leads to hardcoded dependency. If we want to switch to some other advanced email service in future, it will require code changes even in my application class. Okay, this makes our application hard to extend. So what if we want to extend our application to provide additions? If we want SMS messaging or Facebook messaging, we have to write another application for that. So they are trying to change it. So they are not directly assigning it. It will be passing through a constructor, just as I was telling. Okay, just not making this dependent on something. Some external stuff will be supplying the which service it will be using, which email service it will be using. So just one level of loose coupling, but still it's not near to the greatest. Still we are asking client applications or test classes to initialize the email service. That is not a good decision. Eventually they will be going to some injector classes where the injector class will assign which service to implement use, which service implementation to use. And another thing is this dependency or which service to use. Eventually we'll try to make the decision at runtime. In the compile time we will not assign which service to use. We will make it at the runtime. So depending on the current situation, user interaction, what the user wants, I think the same code, I think we will use the same code to send the message, but which service to use, that will be determined at runtime. So our code has to be made to adjust with that. So we'll try to go for that as loose couple we can do. I think this is the approach in general. Service component should be designed with base class or interface. So it's better to prefer interfaces or abstract classes that would define contract for the service. Here, the service has to be defined in terms of interfaces, so that we are flexible in terms of implement, because when we define the interface, we do not define the exact implementation. Yeah, the implementation can be different. I think the same interface, the SMS service engine can use, email service can use, or Facebook messaging service can use the same interface. Same interface and different implementation inside. So keeping the same interface helps whoever will be using those services, they have a common ground, or the similar thing or similar code or same code will work with a different type of interfaces. I think there is one other principle, I think, rather than coding to interface, right? Not to the object, not to the class. There is a concept. Then the consumer classes should be written in terms of service interface. That's what I was trying to get to. And then injector classes will initialize the service to use, and then the consumer classes. Okay. So messaging service, just the service interface. Email service implement will that thing. So the same message, they are implementing same message because it's an emailing. They are using the emailing thing. And the SMS service, it will be implementing the same messaging service. Okay, this service consumer, so there is one another interface to consume the service we defined. So this is the application that will be using consumer service, and then okay, so service, we're assigning this service there, and this service, we're using this service to send the message, but we don't know we are using email service here or SMS service here or Facebook service here. We don't know. Eventually that will come from the runtime, but we're using the same flow of the code. There will not be separate implementation. The same implementation or lesser implementation will do all those things. Our application is using just the service. It does not initialize the service that leads to anyway. I think we have to go to that injector class here. Message service injector, get consumer. So for each service, now we have to create the injector that it can be injected. It will inject the consumer, and it will be injecting the corresponding service. So you can see for each of the service interface there's an injector. So this is how it is going to this. Okay, so we are declaring stuff in terms of interface. So service injector and consumer. I think that in the previous example, consumer is still that was not push coupled. So injector, so we'll be using injector. In this part, I think we can at runtime user interactions we can refer to the code email service injector or SMS service injector. We're getting the consumer and then using the email service and using the phone service. Okay, this is how the unit test code will work. Anyway, I think a similar concept. I think Laravel will have similar concept there. Aspect oriented example. Aspect oriented programming, it's just the cross-cutting aspects of the program. I think there are some other stuff like security or the logging or some cases transaction management, or okay, there are some of the stuff of your application that are not directly related to your business or business application, business logic or business flow. Now sometimes it's better not to integrate them as in the main flow of your code. Those components you can separate those concerns, implement it separately, and they will affect from the side point of view. Sometimes some sort of configuration can also help. Yeah, there's the stuff. I believe they have used the cross-cutting stuff here. Spring EOP takes out the direct dependency of cross-cutting tasks from classes that we cannot set through normal object-oriented programming model. Anyway, I think the main concept is the cross-cutting concepts. The purpose is to keep them separate from the main business logic and architecture code, keeping that in mind. Spring is in Java platform, how to assess aspect-oriented programming in Spring. Okay, dependency injection with Laravel 5. In the previous example was for Java platform, and conceptually they will be the same, just for list coupling and dependency taking it to the runtime. Okay, we saw that instead of declaring an object and initialize an object inside the main application class, you can pass that service through a constructor. That was the minimum level of, I think, first step of the dependency injection in the another example. Okay, rather than this, in the first step, we try to pass it as part of the constructor. So that is called constructor injection. Okay, then this could declare this and initialize and then could use it. But instead passing through constructor, okay, so what is telling that this is we are dependent on a particular client repository. That's because of the before thing, rather than making it dependent on a particular email service or notification service, we can loose couple it. Here we are making the repository to be only client repository type. We're not giving the option to use a different kind of repository. So in that case, to make it to be able to use another kind of repository instead of this class, we will make it an interface, client repository, interface client repository. Then if it depends on the interface, now whoever implements that interface will be able to pass that object into this constructor. So we will not be dependent on this particular client repository implementation. I think we can pass anything that will be implementing that particular interface. So that's what they will be doing here. they're just showing they're implementing a client repository interface. So all the methods it can have. Now, so instead of passing the specific client repository, we're passing the interface. Now, whoever has implemented that interface as it showed will be able to pass that to this constructor. So we are losing the dependency in particular thing. Yeah, but that is, I think, because the similar there, some sort of injector service will be required, but which one we want to inject? So there will be some loose coupling because depending on the situation or user interaction, we have to send something. So we have to go through all those service interfaces or injector interfaces to be able to implement that. So this is the service provider in the built-in extending the Laravel service provider. So this is a binding. This is binding this client repository using this interface. So whenever you need to, you can just change this binding, and then the other code will be using that particular implementation. Okay, I think they're just telling we did it for the in the constructor level, but in Laravel, this can be done for any method level as well. It's telling the order of this does not matter because Laravel will have some sort of thing. This is the first parameter, the controller interface. Anyway, we just tried to show some sort of stuff. So this is a topic that discusses why do we need IOC container in version of control container, because you can actually do dependency injection. I think all the examples so far we saw, those are sort of manual dependency injection. Now, I think in version of control it will help in one area. I think when the dependency is nested. Okay, let's see. When we are introducing dependency through the constructor, yeah, this could be interface, but we are using the actual implementation anyway. But this also could be an interface for sure. But instead of this dependency, I think if we had a container, we could just implement a shipping service interface where all those dependencies and all those things will be mapped, configured, and whatever. Then this one call could do all those things. So it just takes the load out of it and makes the coding easier. But if you go through this, there will be some other concerns I will see and some other approaches where it is good, where it is bad. I think one of the questions here was what is facade. Just a static-like interface to utilize the services inside the container. Laravel has many services defined. You use them these packets. Okay, this will be long through theoretical discussion, I believe. Yeah, packets provide static interfaces to use the classes that are available. That means you can use those services through this packet. So this is a packet class reference, app, artisan, auth, authentication, caching. Okay, you can check. Just come here and search for packet. You will see this section. Service container. So the relationships, composer, issued. It's some sort of the hashing and authentication. Authenticate users. You can use this auth packet and then email has to match, password has to match. Okay, some validation example, as I told, I will show from some example. Okay, I think based on the event, create, insert, update, you probably will be referring to some controller method. So in the create method, you can do it there, depending on the controller. Anyway, I can try to focus on the example theme. Okay, this validate. So you are defining the properties for this title. Required unique maximum 255 body field required for the form. Stopping on first validation failure, I think this bail. Yeah, nested attributes. Displaying the validation error, it will be through the error object. It is the code in the view. Okay, you can keep it there. It will show you PHP artisan routes to get all the routes defined, and there is from the code, from the root, get routes, and then you can look through to show. Okay, this is a library for Bootstrap. I think I can just show you the stuff that will create the Bootstrap form. You have to install this. After install, I think if you just check the, if you write it form checkbox, it will actually generate like this, and that is Bootstrap style because you already installed this package or whatever. So these are some PHP hashing related functions, and Laravel has some more. Anyway, I think this is probably most of the stuff that these guys are talking about the Laravel concepts. Anyway, I probably can create more videos on Laravel concepts. I probably actually created one more from another list of concerns, YouTube SaLearningSchool.com. Okay, that is there. You can read it. Sorry, not read, watch it. Anyway, thank you. Bye bye.